I'm not going to be on video tonight. I'm suffering from vertigo, so I am sideways right now. But I'm here.
No, I hope you feel better soon.
Yeah, me too. But we will carry on. So I heard from Brad is not going to be able to make it tonight, and Molly is probably going to be late. Dale, how are you doing?
Hi, everybody. I'm doing better. I'm now 3 weeks past my surgery and my catastrophic injury to my leg, that is. And I think I'm going to be able to make it through the meeting. But I too won't be on camera because I'm not really anything to look at, that's for sure.
Okay. Weren't we a good group? Okay. We'll give it another minute or so. Marianne, did Cushing ever come and pick up all their equipment?
Yes.
When did they finally do that?
It might have been yesterday. So
Kept checking. I kept checking.
yes, I know it was this week. So they went on to other jobs.
Sure.
And then they had a job canceled yesterday and they came. And so the well is locked and the tent got mangled and that's still there.
Which
And
one?
ours.
No.
And so the highway department said they would take it down and take it to the dump. But anyway, I'll work with them to make sure that happens.
No, that's too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't get taken down. When they finished, there was a storm and it got left up and I wasn't here. So and those tents, well, first of all, the tent is 10 years old and for ever since COVID, I've been putting the tents up and leaving them up all summer, and they're not really designed for that kind of use. So it was pretty battered anyway. So it was considering the weather conditions they had to deal with, I'm glad that we had the tent to sacrifice. So
Yeah,
that
me too.
go on. Yes.
Yeah, well, we left it up because the well was uncovered and
Right.
all their equipment was sitting in it.
Yes. Yes. So it's fine.
Okay. All right, it's 7:01. We have a quorum. I am going to call this meeting to order. Do we have any public comments? Amanda.
Hi, thanks, Elaine. Okay, tonight I wish to convey my disappointment with this committee's lack of transparency, especially given that it seemed to be a priority at the beginning of this project back in 2022. More than once over the past several weeks, I've asked what I consider a simple question, which is still unanswered. This committee has refused to answer my question and sent a reply they knew to be incorrect in response to a public records request. I consider this behavior unprofessional in the extreme, as well as a violation of public records law. You are a small group of individuals handling millions of taxpayers' dollars. You are accountable to the public, which includes everyone in town. We are all stakeholders in this project and deserve to be treated with consideration and courtesy. I will be emailing these written comments to the committee so they may be listed at the end of the minutes as part of the public record. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Okay. Hearing none, we have minutes from our previous meeting. Have you all had a chance to review those? Penny sent them out today, was it, Penny? I believe.
Yes, I sent them out a week or so ago and got several comments
Mhm.
and sent out the corrected version today.
Yes, the only thing is, I was taking the minutes at the end of the meeting when Penny left, and I failed to record the time that the meeting ended. If Marion,
I can probably figure that out.
okay,
So how about if we table the minutes till the next time, if that's important?
okay,
And I can figure that out and send it to
Okay.
Penny.
okay. All right. Okay, let's review and vote on the proposal for hosting the plan distribution and electronic bidding services from Project Dog, which I sent out to the committee earlier this week, I believe it was. They went out, Neil had sent them to us.
Elaine, I'd be happy to answer any questions the committee has on the proposal. It's pretty standard, it's pretty straightforward. They will handle the receipt of the design documents and specifications as provided by Dominic and his team at Odenzello. They will handle the electronic distribution of those documents. Any hard copies or paper sets of documents that are requested will be billed back to the town at cost of reproduction. Any unused sets will be provided to the town at the conclusion of bidding. And they will handle the issuance of all addendum and any other documents that have to be issued for the purposes of bidding the project in accordance with Chapter 149 requirements.
And from what I gather, both you and Dominic have worked with Project Dog.
Yes, many times.
That's correct.
Are there any questions? For Neil? Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the funding for Project Dog.
And I will second. Dale?
Okay. Any more comments? Okay, take a roll call vote.
Antonellis, I.
Dalmas, I.
Dale,
Hool, aye.
Penny,
Jake's eye.
Jeff,
I think you're muted, Jeff. It doesn't say you're muted. Okay, so Jeff just
Jeff
signaled thumbs
raised
up.
his thumb.
Yeah,
He said
Aye.
aye, and Paleo aye. All right, so onward we go with Project Dog.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, on to the cost estimate based on the 75% complete construction documents. Take it away, Dominic.
Oh, should I make you a co-host, Dominic?
Please, Marianne.
All right.
Yep. Thanks, Elaine.
Yep.
All right.
There you go.
Great. Thank you. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
So we have been busy reconciling the cost estimate that we received. There were a few discrepancies when we first saw it. I believe I did circulate the initial cost estimate that we got as soon as we had it in our hands. that initially the price that came in for that was around $375,000 over, I believe. Since then, we've managed to tighten the accuracy of the scope. So what I'd like to do with this document here is just go through the front end, the division deltas, and then some of the considerations that are still in play. And just to caveat that our cost estimator, that this document is still in progress. There are a few items that we actually caught yesterday that has revised some of the numbers again. And so we're not able to coordinate that quickly with our cost estimator to update the actual cost estimate, but this document captures the latest and greatest. So just to start then, the front end here are the general conditions costs, all the general fees here. Nothing really has changed. We have the cost estimate from DD in the middle here. And sorry, this is a typo. This should be 75% CDs here. So this column here is the revised. So not much has changed as far as percentages. General conditions came down a little bit. General requirements 3%. Bond and insurance is the same. Building permit is waived. Fee profit is 2.5% still. Contingency has come down to 2.5%. That was around 5% actually when we were approved to go into CDs, not the 10. And then 6% for escalation. And now because we're closer to bidding, we're down to 1%. So that with the direct cost, this 5 million number is the addition of the actual project cost. So going through, I figure there were a bunch of VE items that we targeted at the end of DD. We did see savings and generally. So really what I want to do is target the overages. And obviously this is an open discussion. So we'll, feel free to ask questions. So we did see an increase in the cast in place concrete. We did have to increase the teens footing depth because of the tight tank. That was not captured in DD. So we have a nearby tight tank, and that is influencing the stability of the teens foundation wall, therefore requiring that foundation wall be a little deeper. I think we reduced it. It's reduced in depth now, so increased in height by another 18 inches. That's still being tightened up. That was one scope of concrete that increased, and also the fact that the building footprint increased slightly to incorporate that additional restroom. And that water service room now is a little bit bigger. So that's where we saw some increase there. Miscellaneous metals, there was some additional steel that we needed for window reinforcement. We were coordinating with Pella and our structural engineer, Minor, in tightening up of scope there. And waterproofing, we're on par, I would say, a slight increase. Again, I think, the building got a little bit bigger, so a small overage there. Aluminum windows and doors, I think the fact that there was just this one was hard to explain. I think just the fact that we're in CDs and that number got tightened up, it's, sharpening the pencil on this number. I think also the fact that we are now at the end of CDs, our cost estimator is constantly altering their costs for things as it relates to the bidding climate as well. So hollow metal doors and frames, the addition of the additional bathroom door saw that increase in number. We are now looking at specialty doors. So there was an increase in unit costs there. So again, I feel like as we specified our needs, and then, you know, variation to the fact of the bidding climate, we saw a little bit of an increase in cost here. Finish hardware, again, related to doors, slight increase here. In our sense, you know, these are very minor percentages. Glass and glazing, the unit costs went up there. Resilient flooring, so we included resilient in the lobby and circulation space, so that was our base bid. The tile here is the adult tile, this number here. So this was a reduction, right? So we owned tile initially, that was taken out. We went with resilient for the base bid, and we accounted for the swap in tile as an adult in this 75%. We can discuss that at the end. Painting went up a little bit. There's some additional square footage of walls. The resinous flooring is the epoxy flooring that we were holding in the restrooms. So resilient in lobby circulation space, and then we decided on epoxy flooring for the restrooms. So we saw a slight increase here. Acoustic ceilings went up by quite a bit. So what happened here was this is mainly capturing ACT tile, which is, you know, a very cost-effective material. But this included the pricing for the fabric-wrapped acoustic panels that we're using in the meeting room, adults and children's. That scope of work was previously, the acoustic panels was previously perforated gypsum. And so it's come out of the drywall number here. So we saw savings of $50,000 by doing that change. But then we still need acoustic panels. So the delta really is $20,000. So we made $20,000 savings from going perforated to acoustic panel. So that's how we analyze that number. Then going on to carpeting, missed in DD was the children's area rug. So that, again, as this is scrutinized more in the cost estimate, this was picked up and unfortunately missed at DD. So a small increase there. Toilet accessories went up, you know, additional restroom. Plumbing, we saw some savings. HVAC, some savings. Electrical, unfortunately, went up a great amount. So a portion of that is the fire alarm. The BDA unit cost went up. The BDA potentially we do not need, but we are currently holding this. And Neil, I don't think you are holding that number elsewhere, the BDA cost. Usually the testing for that is done during construction, but our sense is we hold the number. I forget the actual value of that.
The BDA, inclusion of the BDA is actually a code requirement. We would have to prove to the authority having jurisdiction that radio transmission into the building is achievable.
Without the antenna.
You know, without putting in the internal antenna. So I would recommend it remain in the project.
Agreed.
And we will take it out by credit later if needed, if not needed.
Correct. So that unit cost went up a little bit, which, you know, influenced this number. Unfortunately, transformer was overlooked during DD, so that was included. Emergency lighting, site lighting was not scope that we had in DD. So, and then honestly, a large portion, and, you know, we had a conversation with our cost estimator, and our engineers too were criticizing, or at least critiquing, some of those numbers. And this is about trying to get a safe estimate and taking into account the bids that we are seeing in general in Massachusetts, the fact that Shutesbury is a little bit remote as far as how it might be, projected to be bid on. So this number is trying to be as safe as possible. So that went up. And then utilities, again, I think just, sharpening the pencil on the scope, getting more details in, saw a slight increase in utilities. So I didn't go over all of the reductions. For instance, landscaping, we saw $70,000 by reorganizing the planting, the way that we are incorporating planting on the project. Site improvements, we took out granite walls. A lot of the landscaping here, we saw some big numbers. The pavement, I did circulate a version of this prior to this meeting, which did not catch up the fact that we received finalized pricing for precast concrete curb, which we are using at the concrete pathway at that drop-off ADA parking. And that was initially priced as granite. And so that is now going to be precast, which we always, that was a miss by the cost estimator. So as of today, we saw additional savings here. So all told, we are actually over by $25,000, just under. Yeah. So that's the number where we stand today. Pricing, hang on, where's the second page? Oh, and I messed up because I don't have my adults here. Let me do this real quick. Now I've got to go to I'm sorry about that. I missed a section that I was hoping to print out here. But I do have it. I will get this up right now. I'm sorry. I'm just going to transfer to the screen share to my Excel file. Apologies, in a rush, I didn't capture the full evaluation. So what I wanted to do is now touch on the alternates. It's the same document. Now we're looking at this as a Excel file. So the floor that we are capturing for this 6 million number is the resilient flooring in the lobby, circulation space, and epoxy in the restrooms. We had our cost estimator evaluate what it would take to swap for tile in all of those spaces, including a tiled wet wall in all restrooms. So only in the restrooms, the wall where the fixtures are being attached to, we would include tile to a 4-foot datum. So you can see the breakdown here. So by taking out the epoxy and the resilient and adding in the wet wall tile and the tile on the floor throughout, we see an add of $27,000. So there is quite a premium, and this is thin set tile. We were using a cheap porcelain tile, $3 to $5 a square foot. We were trying to keep it as cheap as possible, but this is just labor and getting this material in the building. We could reduce this number by not including the wet wall. So, we could get it down to 20,000. Yeah, that's where we stand with that number. Another item that we included as an adult, so it's not a part of this 6,172,000, is the suspended fixtures in the lobby. So that's $4,000. I know that was a point of VE previously. So this number is still floating as an adult. We could keep it in the final bid just to see where we shake out and whether we want to accept that or not. So that's the lobby pendant lighting. The fire alarm is all told $25,000. And that was added in shortly after DD. as a result of a coordination meeting with the fire chief. It is not, again, required by code, but it's a good idea. It comes at a premium as it relates to our budget. And again, this was coordinated or included after the DD pricing, so it was not captured at that point. And then the granite curb, the initial estimate that I circulated to everybody included granite curb for full scope, where we need a curb on the complete entry drive. So that was a premium. So for most of it is Cape Cod berm. As you enter, it follows the entry drive, goes and makes its way all the way around the turnaround, and then terminates at the bike racks where we see the concrete footpath. And that the concrete footpath all the way across to the drop-off is going to be precast curb. So that calculus put $50,000 back into this number. So we are already realizing that savings, and that's already been incorporated. I just put this calculation in because the actual document we are still running with, that hasn't been updated from the cost estimate. It doesn't have this update. And then we've been pushing really hard on our electrical engineer as well on NGrid, on National Grid, to get the back charge amount for what the alternate might give us if we go to overhead poles for utilities for electrical and data and telephone. But it's been promised at the end of the week. So unfortunately, I couldn't get that number for you today. We're still holding what our cost estimator thinks we could see if we went that route. This is an add alt that has not been included in this number. So, from our office, we feel like we're very close. We have a slight overage, and it's nearly dollar to dollar the added scope that was included for the fire alarm. We have continued to tighten the library of things millwork as well. We're really hoping to see bigger savings for millwork. We did see some, and we've been coordinating quickly with, we saw $5,000 savings there. Not enough in our eyes, but again, we were pushing hard on our cost estimator, and he's pricing this as a jewel box in his sense, right? So you just do not get the same kind of return in the way that we are trying to see savings. He said, a mill worker is going to price it, he's trying to be real about it, and the way that a mill worker would price a job in Shutesbury, and where we were really trying to scrutinize scope and make as many savings as we could. We didn't see that as a result. But we have, for the library of things, and I have an elevation I can share with you, we've gone to an off-the-shelf shelving, a wall fastened or a wall-mounted shelving system. And we actually think it might offer you more flexibility as far as how you're trying to be seasonal, hang life vests, and still include the cooktop and the other items there as well. So I can review that later. So that's kind of a quick summary. I don't know. I know I circulated some of this documentation, not sure how much everybody's had a chance to review. I think as a result of this, or at the end of this discussion, I'd like to have a conversation about how we conform the add alt list and what we would like to do for it. I was discussing this with our landscape architects, and is there any sense to strategize how, do we bring in any of the landscape back in as an adult? Just to, we don't need to accept them, but maybe we see how the bids come out, and then we have adults that as a building committee, you can decide, it might be better to get some of those trees that we have as part of the 3-year planting plan, back into the project, for instance. The tile for $25,000. Do we want that as an adult? The suspended fixtures in the lobby, those kind of things. So I'll open it up for questions. If anybody has any comments, your comfort level of where we are with the numbers. Yeah.
I have some questions. Oh, let Dale go first.
Sure.
So regarding the fire alarm,
Yep.
the fire chief is never going to say, don't put a fire alarm system in. But what he is going to say privately is that the biggest morale killer on a fire department is false alarms. So, they're not advocates of alarm systems just for that reason, because of the nature of the department. And, and then we get into the nature of the construction of this building, versus the construction of other buildings in town that are, under alarmed, that, could stand to have this type of protection, well in advance of this particular building. So, I mean, I think that that's an area where if we get really tight for money, that I think we can really look at that, and, again.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's.
Mary Ann, can I offer a comment on that?
Yeah,
I would just say that before you remove the fire alarm from a wood-framed, unmonitored building, I think you should talk to your insurance company about what the difference in insurance premium will be for a building of this type without sprinklers and without a fire alarm. I think it might surprise you that the savings in the premium might pay for the alarm in very short time.
I'll see if I can get Becky to do that. So I mean,
It's a valid
actually,
point.
the insurance company is easy to communicate with. Yeah. I'm not inclined to take the fire alarm out. I have a question about the well. The well, so I don't think actually getting the water from the well to or I don't know where getting the water from the well to the building is incorporated in this. And I wonder if Ezra Cushing is the well driller, and his contract was through the pump test. So they put in a temporary pump for the pump test. And so can Ezra Cushing from Cushing's and Sons, and it wouldn't be him doing it out, obviously. But can they do the rest of the well work? Can that just be something, since they've already installed the well, can that just be something that they do? And can we figure out the cost of that and then account, or is that accounted for in the cost estimate already?
I have to go back and check, Neil. I'm not sure if you know the answer to that.
The last time we talked about this, Dominic, it appeared as though there was a cost under Division 31 for the water distribution pipe. It was a couple of $100.
That's right.
I don't know that it's still there,
Yep.
but it should be easy to verify. And then the cost, the added, there should be 2 additional elements. One is for the supply and installation of the pump itself, which is usually a mechanical item, whether it's plumbing or site. It doesn't really matter where it's specified, but it needs to be picked up. And then Division 26 needs to provide any electrical to the wellhead to support the pump and power the pump, as well as any low voltage monitoring that's required at the well, that reports back into the building. That would be a Division 26 item.
Yep. So I can get that together, Marianne, so to help coordinate. Yep.
And then can Ezra do that work, or what, or does it just fall under the contractors? I don't have an opinion either way. I just want to know what the answer is.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think ahead of coordination.
Ideally, it would be provided by the general contractor.
Okay.
Yeah,
That way
agree.
you have
Okay.
one warranty, one point of responsibility, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, that's,
I
yeah.
would strongly suggest that Ezra can be tipped as to who the selected general contractor is when the time comes,
Mhm.
and they can quote their services to the general contractor.
Okay,
But yeah, I would not say that it's in the town's best interest to have them do that work directly.
okay, I just wanted to know how it worked, that's all, and make sure that those things are captured in the cost estimate, the different pieces. So. And then the other question I have is, so what we need is the sort of total project cost and then the eligible versus ineligible, so that we know, so we have a general an idea of how much the town is going to be required to come up with. Unless you think it's very similar to what we've discussed in the past.
I'll have to go through it, Mary Ann.
Right, okay. And then the other question I have is, how much is this likely to change? So what's the process from here? So now we get to 100% of design documents. And then do we do another cost estimate, or do we go out to bid? We
Straight
don't,
to bid.
we go straight to bid. So now we're going to bid, and this is a very good estimate of what the cost will be. And we'll make sure we've included everything that, that we think will come up. Reasonable things that will come up, like, plumbing and lighting and all the different things. And then we see what the bids are. Okay,
That's right. Yep.
okay. All right.
Think of this, Mary Ann, as the ultimate cost estimate,
The bids or this?
the bids.
The bids, yes, yeah. Well, I mean, actually, the ultimate cost estimate is gonna be the final payment, at the end, right?
that's
Because
true.
there may be things that change along the way. Or the final tree that, Penny plants. So, 2 years after. So, so anyway, it doesn't seem terrible.
No, it was a hard fought week. There was sticker shock initially, Marianne, and I'm sorry that you all had to go through a week of how do we work through $375,000. But there was a lot of refining of the scope to make sure that it was accurately captured. I saw Dale, you had your hand up, and then Elaine after. Dale?
Yes. So I'm not sure if I've missed this along the way, but normally in concerning the piping from the well to the building, that's usually done by the installer of the pump. And have we really discussed the pump and who is installing the pump? Because that's part of that process. You run the lines, from the pump to the building. So I would say that whoever's installing the pump is responsible for that portion of it. I mean, that's the way that it's always worked as far as I know. And, we've talked about a lot of things, but I'm not sure we've talked about the pump.
Yeah, understood. I'm gonna review it again, Dale, and make sure and confirm for sure. I know, Neil, you and I had a lengthy conversation about this. I've got to go back to my notes and make sure
So
this is all.
I'm looking at the detail of the estimate now, Dominic. You still have the same 207 lineal feet of 2-inch water main,
Yep,
which I presume is the main water service from the wellhead
yep,
back to the building. I'm looking to find out
for the pump.
there's no electrical raceway, it doesn't look like. So you would normally have either in the same trench or in a separate trench, the well power and any reporting low voltage that goes back to the building.
Yep, so
I
that
don't-
needs to
I
be
don't
added.
necessarily see that under the electrical site work.
Hmm.
And I'm looking now through plumbing for the pump. And I had a stream of consciousness based on the water test results we get for hardness. There'll probably be some kind of conditioning system that would be provided by the plumber as well inside the building for water softening or water treatment out of the well before it's distributed to the building.
That's correct.
I'm not sure if that's in here either.
I'm going to confirm that because we did have a placeholder, but I do have information about that as we go to bidding, because we are still waiting on the water testing results. And it looks like we're not going to get them in hand for next week's deadline for our
Right.
plumbing engineer to provide exactly what we need. Could be a little more than we expect, could be less as far as the water treatment system.
Yeah.
And so currently, I was discussing it with them today. Currently, the plan of attack is to issue that as an addendum during bidding, because we should have that in hand sometime next week, but I can't rely on that to make it into the set in time. So,
Yeah.
yep.
Right,
see
we're
you-
not
I
expecting the
see a
water.
well
tank.
pressure tank too in the estimate, but no pump.
Yes, right. So I think the two things, Neil, is the pump and electrical.
Yeah.
We were coordinating on electrical conduit, actually. So I don't think that number is captured in here.
Yeah, okay.
So a little bit of this number is, we will see some variation then to this number.
And so do you need us to decide tonight? So is there an option of having just tile on the bathroom floors and the wet wall of the bathroom and not in the lobby? Like resilient floors in
Yes.
the lobby?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And do you need us to decide that tonight?
Yes.
I think with tile, no, I think we can incorporate that pretty quickly into our. There may be some cleanup in details. I don't know if they'll make it in for Friday, but we could, for sure they'll pose a question in bidding, and we will be issuing addenda, which are responses to bidders' questions during bidding. And the bidders usually critique details and have questions related to spec or drawings that we clarify. And in those clarifications, we may need to iron out exactly where we stand with tile. But in my sense from our office is we can quickly incorporate tile in as you wish. And I think at this point, and we can discuss that, we can decide how we set up this adult as part of the bidding. What are the adults?
Dominic, just be mindful that if that ad alternate is greater than $25,000, ceramic tile is a filed subbid category of work, and that could get problematic. Right? We need to think that through, how we're going to handle that delivery.
Neil, could you explain that to those of us who don't understand what you just said?
Sorry, so there are 16 categories of work under Mass General Laws, Chapter 149, that identify what's called filed subbid work. And what that means is for any value of filed subbid work, I believe it's over $25,000, a separate subbid has to be prepared by a qualified DCAM certified contractor and submitted prior to the general bids. And those bids are then incorporated into the general contractor's bid after issuance by addendum.
So you mean for each one of them, it has to be 25,000 or overall the,
No, just each category of work over $25,000. So off the top of my head, masonry, miscellaneous metals, waterproofing, damp proofing and caulking, roofing and flashing, metal windows, glass and glazing. Division 9 is painting, acoustic ceilings, resilient flooring, ceramic tile, terrazzo if you have it, which we don't, and then the mechanical trades, sprinklers,
Electrical, yeah,
plumbing,
yeah.
HVAC, and electric. I think are most of the trades. We don't have elevators. I think that's all of them. So any of those trade categories of work where we have an estimated value of $25,000 or more will be identified in the specifications as a filed subbid section of work. And that has to be bid separately from the general contracts.
so what happens to those that are under 25,000?
They become the responsibility of the general contractor.
And they do their own sub-bidding?
Whether they do the work themselves or whether they hire a tile setter to do it, in this case, it would be either one. But where we would run into problems is if there is an ad alternate for ceramic tile and the value of that alternate is over $25,000 in the estimate, you come into a condition where you may get no interest in the tile work because it's not clear whether or not you'll exercise the alternate or what. So we gotta think that through a little bit.
Yeah, to Marianne's point, and you may, as a committee, need the in-person material finishes review next week to help make that decision as far as your comfort with resilient in the lobby, right? To your point, Marianne.
That was one of the things that I was gonna say is that next week, that's what we're going to be doing is looking at those
Yep.
and making a final decision.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So then we'll know if we're gonna have those tiles, etc.
Yep. So we can go over all of that and that whatever decision is made then we'll incorporate into the set for the issuance.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so I have a procedural question here that and that is I'm not clear and maybe some of the other committee members are more clear than I am. We go out to bid and we get an estimate. And I guess this is more to Heather and Andrea. Before we can go forward, we have to have all of the money in hand for the construction part of the project. Is that correct? Or do we have to have everything in hand for the entire scope, including landscaping and those things that are not under your jurisdiction?
Eligible cost.
Right.
So eligible cost would be the construction piece, and everything essentially to get the construction done. But your furnishings, equipment, landscaping, those things that are not part of our eligible cost, that is not required to have in hand at this point.
Andrea,
Okay.
can I follow up on that?
Mm-hmm.
If the construction contract is inclusive of ineligible costs, you cannot sign a contract that you cannot finance in full. So the general contractor is going to be responsible for landscaping. Then the cost is going to be included in his contract. And the town, by Mass General Law, the town can't sign a contract that it can't fund through completion. So that I agree with Andrea, it doesn't necessarily affect the grant or the MBLC piece. It will affect the town share, but you really need to have your funding in order for the full balance of the contract. If we're looking at a $6 million construction number and an $8.5 million construction contract, you need to have your funding in order for the $8.5 million for the project to move forward.
Right, so that means that it's in our best interest to not include much of the landscaping and things on that order in the general contract, knowing that we could come in higher than we have right now, but that we're still fundraising and there's a potential for more money to come in to complete those parts at a later date.
If that is a concern of the town, then it should be identified as an ad alternate and given the lowest priority necessary. And
Okay.
you can elect when the bid price comes in that you have to decide if it's a bid alternate, you have to decide when you open the bid, whether or not you will include it or exclude it. And you must take alternates in numerical order. So you will have to assign a priority to each of the alternates that are included. And those alternates must then be taken in order that they are listed in the bid.
Okay,
So to make it clear and illustrative, if you have 3 alternates, the town's only option is to take the base bid plus alternate 1, the base bid plus alternate 1 and 2, or the base bid and alternate 1, 2, and 3. It can't take just alternate 3. It can't take just 1 and 3. They have to be in numerical order as they're indicated in the documents.
got it. Thank you. Mary Ann, you're in mute.
Can we go back and review what we think might be alternate? So one thing that might be an alternate is flooring in the lobby and the restrooms. What else might be the fancy light fixture in the lobby?
Mhm.
Uh,
Was just a calculus, so I'm going to gray that out here just
Okay.
for clarity. And
okay.
so I don't have the landscape. Our cost estimator did price it, the ad alt for that, and I think that, you know, who knows where we'll be with that. I think that number was enhanced plantings, 250,000. Oh, you can't see my screen. Yeah, sorry, I just went to it. So 250,000 for the 3-year planting plan. But talking to our landscape architects, they were wondering whether we strategize that 3-year plan, the $250,000 worth of landscape, and break it into trees, shrubs, and then perennials. Is there a strategy there specific to that landscape? If there's interest, if bidding is favorable, that you get some of that back into the contract. But to Neil's point, it's critical how you order those things, and order of importance to the group. And to Neil's point,
I have a question about that based on conversations that I've had with I'm not sure with whom, but I thought Stimson provided 2 alternate landscaping plans. One was a very minimal plan of the things that would be done as part of the contract, and then a secondary plan that would be the things that the town could easily do on its own. Are those 2 things captured in the estimate?
So the first is the limited scope of plantings, including trees and grasses, as we discussed, is in our current estimate. The $250,000 number is the second. They called it an alternate, but really we need that for Conservation Commission, right? So that's really, I'm calling the 3-year planting plan.
Okay.
And that is not a part of the base bid. So that would be completed by the town.
What is the base bid portion of it?
Sure. So let me just go back to
Dominic,
my
can
plan.
you just share the page 21 of the estimate? It lays it out pretty clearly what it is.
Can you see that?
No,
Oh, sorry.
it's okay. There we go.
So, Penny, they don't call out the types of trees. I can bring up the plan. I have that open as well.
No, that's okay. I'm familiar with the plan. I was just
Yeah.
trying to reconcile what I know about the plan, which I see in the estimate here.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was surprised at how much still was in the estimate based on what we had discussed.
Right. The value or the scope?
Well, I was trying to grasp by looking at the document that you have posted there, how that relates to the scope, but I
Yep.
was surprised at the cost.
Yeah.
I thought we had cut more of it out.
Yeah. Stimson reviewed this. To one of your questions, I know, was sod, and it's preferred by Stimson that some of those grassed areas is sod, because that's a fairly big number. Actually, it isn't that big here. I'm confusing that with the meadow mix. Just because it gives you flexibility for establishment and schedule and weather. So they were considering holding that. Yep.
Dominic, are they, based on how your spec is written, are they responsible for watering the sod until establishment?
Yes.
Okay.
And how will they do that?
They will, my sense is they have to bring water to the site until they can use the spigots on site. Well, no, because of the well. I have to get to the bottom of that, actually.
And did you capture in this estimate the cost of running a third outdoor spigot to the north end of the building?
It's included in
It
this
is.
number. Yep.
And how much is that?
How much more was that?
That was buried in numbers.
Can you find at some point before next week,
Yeah,
extract that for us?
yeah.
And Dominic, can you just describe how that will be constructed? I think that I remember you saying that the piping would run through the ceiling, through the
That's right.
plumbing space.
Yep. That is correct. That's how we've got it at the moment.
And is that true for the other spigots as well?
Yes, it's not running through the slab.
Marianne, do you still have questions?
I don't think so.
I had a bunch of little questions about things I saw in that lengthy document. Like it
Mhm.
looks like there are 2 refrigerators. Is that true? I mean, I don't think there are things worth discussing in this meeting, but I was perplexed by some of the things in there.
Yep, we are only carrying one. Let me double check that.
There's, there's two, Dominic. There's an
Okay.
under counter in the multi-purpose room.
Yeah.
And one larger refrigerator in the staff room, I believe.
Okay, great. So we can take that out. Sorry, I missed that.
And that wouldn't be something the contractor's responsible for, would it?
Currently, yes. So we
Really?
can take that out, Marianne,
Well,
depending on preference.
Huh, well, I guess we can, so you spec'd it out because you wanted a white one. And,
Right, to coordinate size
right,
and
but
finish.
if, I mean, that just seems like something that if we bought it ourselves, I
Yep.
mean, it's just gonna be a refrigerator that slides into a space, right?
We can absolutely take it out. Yeah,
Right.
there's no other consideration other than controlling than
Right,
the
yes,
GC controlling what it is. But you are
Right.
happy to do the same yourself. Yeah.
yeah.
We can do it both ways. And if there's a preference, I'll happily take it out.
I mean, what do you think, committee? Do you think we can handle buying a refrigerator on our own?
I think that we're gonna have somebody who's gonna make a donation that will buy a refrigerator for us.
Okay, okay,
I
let's
think
take that
get
out.
Take that out.
Take out both refrigerators. Okay.
Yes.
And the GC is not gonna be buying, like, so what about shelving? Is,
Metal shelving is currently not, it's not considered in this. The GC is not doing the shelving. That's
Okay.
considered FF&E.
okay, but is
We-
it accounted for in this cost estimate?
No, we show it for coordination in our drawings, but it is not priced.
Which shelving is that? The ones that are,
The stacks for the collections, the metal shelving in the niches and in the adults and children's spaces. Storage shelving
And
as well,
that's
all metal
significant.
shelving.
That's significant, and it's an eligible cost.
It's ineligible, correct?
No, it's eligible.
The end panels, I believe, are ineligible.
Oh,
The
that's
end
that's
panels
right.
and the
right.
caps are ineligible, but the metal shelving and any mobile shelving is also eligible for
Right,
it. So Marianne, what you're seeing here, I think, is the construction
right.
cost, right? So all of those, the furniture and everything is separate.
All right. And do you think that this furniture, Neil, that the shelving is captured in your furniture budget?
I'll have to look.
Okay.
My furniture budget is what you told me to carry. So I'll have to hold on, let me see what I got.
Okay. All right. I mean, we don't actually have to buy a whole lot of furniture.
but we do need the shelving.
But we do need the shelving. And I think Neil's furniture budget is $125,000.
That is correct. $125,000.
Okay.
For shelving and furniture.
That's everything. Furniture, shelving.
Okay.
Before we stray too far away from appliances, microwave, take that out.
Yes.
Yeah, you can take that out.
Yep.
And I Well, I guess what would the lighting in the lobby be like if there wasn't a
It's
decorative
decorative.
feature? If there isn't a decorative feature, what would the lighting be?
Sufficient. You get
Okay.
the foot candles you need from the track lighting. Yeah. It's accent lighting. That it's really about creating a moment of arrival, right? And identity for the building. We
Right.
think it's very important, but we totally understand the sensibility to, consider that as an adult for sure.
And how high is the ceiling in the lobby?
It goes up to about 18 feet.
So the ceiling in the lobby it goes up to the wood decking?
That's correct. Yep,
Okay.
exposed. Yep.
All right.
And Dominic, were you able to identify a pathway between the head end for IT and the distribution of the cabling throughout the rest of
Yeah.
the library?
We need a access panel in the vestibule just to be able to continue that run, because otherwise that's kind of the point that's difficult to get to both sides of either wall. So
Right.
we need an access panel in there, but otherwise you're good to go. We're including access panels in the hard gyp restrooms. Everywhere else is accessible by ACT or open to structure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
I have another, go ahead. I have some more questions about site prep when people want to talk about it.
go ahead, Penny.
It says you're going to remove 6 trees. That doesn't mesh with what I think needs to be removed. I think it's more like 100 trees.
I'm looking at a page 19 of the estimate. And at the top, right underneath where it says site prep and clearing,
Yeah,
it says 100% clear and grub, 9,358 square yards.
okay, then what is the remove 6 trees? That's down under, it's in the bottom section of page 19.
Those might be 6 trees outside of the clear and grub area.
Okay. And what about removing the stone wall?
I saw that somewhere actually.
48 lineal
It's right
feet,
above
page
remove.
19.
Yep, it's towards the bottom of that page.
Remove stone wall, 5,000.
I don't know that you need to remove any stone wall.
Right.
I'll confirm with civil.
There is that asphalt pad that needs to be removed.
Right, and I saw that in there.
Okay. But
Um,
I don't think we want to remove a stone wall.
And I don't think there are any trees you need to protect. I know you're only assigning $1,650 for that, but I can't picture what trees would fall in that category.
Yeah.
Steven's had his hand up for a long time.
Yes, he's patient. Go ahead, Stephen.
Back to the decorative light fixture. I'm assuming that even if one is not initially installed, the wiring and the switching is all there for it, correct?
No. It will be eliminated if we don't accept, at least the way it's structured. If you want conduit lines for that, or a termination with a back box, we can include that and just simply remove. So keep the wiring and infrastructure and delete the fixture itself. I think yeah, and that could then be modified depending on what you end up, using there down the line. So if that's how you would like it to be, again, those decorative were ornamental in a sense. So if we were, the way it's structured, if we don't accept that adult, the wiring will be omitted and be deleted. But we can include it if you would like.
Dominic, can we go back and address Penny's questions for a minute?
Yeah.
Penny, if you look on sheet C 2.0 of the estimate, I'm sorry, of the documents that were issued, the 6 trees are clearly identified to be removed and disposed. Those are outside of the clearing area. The trees that are to be protected are right on the limit of work along Leverett Road.
Oh,
And
okay.
the removal of the stone wall is identified clearly in the location of the new driveway along Leverett Road. It's all pretty laid out nice and clearly right there.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we take down those trees before those 6 trees ourselves before this goes out to bid? I think they're ones that aren't in the buffer zone, the ones you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what that means. Does that mean cutting it grade, or does it take out, the root system, depending on grading requirements? I guess if they, yeah, so that those kind of questions I'm not sure about. I don't really see an issue of that, but if it's done to the requirements for the project, as far as, taking out subsurface material, then we should not, that should alleviate the GC from having to do the work, or the site contractor.
And then that's a much bigger job for the highway department.
If the general contractor is going to be required to mobilize a tree clearing company to come in and clear the whole back area that's going to be removed, the 6 trees located at the front of the site are really incidental to the work that he's doing out back.
Then why are they called out separately and charged per tree?
Because they're not located within the area of clearing. It's the way that they're called out on the drawings that's different.
I see. Well, I think our highway crew was prepared to take those trees down soon. Should they not do that?
Yeah, to Neil's point, I don't know how much you would save, but
Well, it looks like $5,000.
yeah.
And I'm still lobbying for a tile floor.
Nice.
Yeah, but Penny, I don't think it really is $5,000 because then there would still be the stumps and the filling in the space and the grading and the stabilizing it. So I think it probably just makes more sense to let it be part of the overall project. It's, because I think it's a bigger job than just taking down the trees.
I think they were gonna stump them. Well, we can talk more about that. I don't think this
Okay.
meeting is necessarily a place for that, but
Let's get back to Steve about that and then have a discussion on Tuesday.
yep.
Okay, great.
Stephen, I'm not sure if so I guess the question was, should we provide electrical termination back box for a centralized suspended fixture in the lobby?
Sure, that would be something that another one of those items that would be like the microwave and the refrigerator, somebody might want to donate the cost of that and have it as an add-on after the fact.
Yep. Completed by the library.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
We will ensure that you have access, you will have access throughout the building to all the plenum spaces, so that all the wiring that might be necessary by an electrician down the line will have easy access to do all that work.
Okay.
Yep.
Stephen, does that make sense to you?
Well, I think so, but so say as far as switching goes, I mean, if you're going to have a wall-mounted switch for that, that would have to be done at the time of construction. Otherwise, you got to fish wires, right?
Yeah, so right, the lighting controls, they would need to connect into the system that we currently have. And I think that fixture itself would be a part of the centralized lighting control panel that we have behind the circulation desk. So there's a centralized control for general lighting in the building that I think that would be a part of, so that the patrons don't come and switch that on and off.
So are you saying that that would be easy to add after the fact?
Yes, you could definitely add it too. It would need to be programmed and kind of incorporated in. It's not as simple as putting, well, it's up to you. The library could decide that, yes, you have a local switch, simple on-off in the lobby, or you connect it to the lighting system that you have in the building.
Dominic, it was my understanding that we can no longer do switches due to code.
Hmm.
Is that true or not?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a
Andrea,
good
just
question.
out of
I'll get that.
curiosity, how would you actuate the device? Are you saying it has to be through a lighting control system?
That's our understanding on our projects, which are all much larger than this. I don't know if size or anything determines it, but all of our other projects are on lighting management systems.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happened with the idea of putting in pavers at certain places? Is that?
Yeah. So we
think-
have not broken that out. It is all inclusive. We have a unit cost.
Mhm.
So I think there was a really good plan that broke out the actual, I'll give you the overall. So we have pavers, this UP still at these locations. We carried at adults as well. And again, it's a simple calculus, area and unit cost, and we can substitute this for bituminous if there's interest.
Well, we had talked about doing that as a fundraiser with names on pavers.
Yep.
Can that still happen with the method you're describing here?
It could. It needs to be coordinated as to when that work would be completed. So for instance, if the fundraising happens after the completion, is there bituminous that needs to come up again, or do we, is the fundraising coordinated in time that that work is completed outside of the base bid? Or if it's a part of the base bid, we should include it now. Otherwise, we could submit as a change order after. My sense is, yeah, I guess it's difficult to answer as far as how you think the the fundraising efforts will go for that specifically. I think to keep it in the base, my initial sense is to keep it in the base bid, you allow people to make donations to the project by inscribing the pavers, and that funding is coordinated with a building committee outside of the base bid of the project. But, you know, that would be a help, obviously, to offset any construction cost. But you are committed to the initial upfront cost of the pavers.
That makes the most sense to do it that way, because if we don't have enough people, we wouldn't want to be 3/4 of the way through
Right.
and still have to do something there. So if we have the pavers in there, and then people can they inscribe them after the fact?
I don't
Is
think,
Yes,
that-
you can pull them and have them in I'm forgetting the term for how they cut them, engrave them. It's
Etch.
What's that, Neil?
I think it's called etching.
Yeah, that's right. But it's done with a pressure, blanking out on the actual machine that does that. So, but yes, so you could do it after the fact and continue to do so, you know, after the building has been opened.
So they're just laying in the gravel there,
Yeah, I can go to a plan,
okay.
a section, sorry.
so I thought Stimson was going to get us information on this. Did that fall through the cracks?
No, we do have, I don't know if I sent everything to you in, I do have information of what they've done on other projects. So there'll be, you know, sand swept joints, you know, allowing you to still, you know, dislodge these pavers, so that you can still do that etching and donation.
So that we could do them actually in batches, say, you know,
Right.
we get up to 25 of them, we pull 25 and then
That's right.
replace them. That's
Yeah.
great. Okay.
Yeah, Penny, I'm sorry. Lily did give me that information, so I'm sorry if I did not forward that on to you yet. I will get that to you.
Thank you.
We figure that is not a part of the base bid, though, that work.
Right.
So it would be, you know, Stimson has some information to get you going of where you can source this work, and then you could complete that. Yeah.
Yeah, Dominic, do you remember if that's fairly local?
I don't off the top of my head.
My experience with this is in local here is that we did with a company out of state, and the shipping costs, if you send them out at a later date or whatever, at small amounts or anything, is significant.
Yeah. I know we did it on one of my projects a number of years ago in the South Shore, so, you know, in the wrong direction. But my recollection of that, it was not outrageous. It was very reasonable. That is obviously, you know, a few hours removed from Shutesbury. So
Well, that's
not out
much
of
more
state.
local than
Yes,
than
not
local
out of
than
state.
shipping them to Wisconsin, which was beyond anybody's driving range, and
Yeah, no, absolutely.
the
I
shipping
would hope.
cost was extraordinary per unit, and
Sure.
defeats the purpose of a fundraiser.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So Dominic, I know that was done at the Martha's, the West, what was it, the West Tisbury
Tisbury.
Library
Mm.
on Martha's Vineyard? Do you
Mhm.
have, that, or can you find information on that?
Yeah, I did it on my project in Norwell, the Norwell Public Library.
Okay.
Yep. So I will get you that information as well.
Andrea, you have your hand up.
Thank you. I just wanted to say it might be for the lighting controls, it might be Mass Save, because all of our projects are working with Mass Save, and I believe that they don't require, so it may not be a code thing. It might be more getting the energy efficiency incentives for daylighting controls.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if there were any other questions. Obviously, reach out if others come up with regards to this as well. I had a couple of other things. So I did mention I had a couple of other things to discuss as well. So I just wanted to kind
Okay.
of chime in there in a moment of silence. But Elaine and Marianne,
Sure. Go right
I
ahead.
might be jumping the gun here. I'm sorry.
No,
Oh, go ahead.
So I did mention that the water treatment, we currently don't have a good grasp of the requirements because the testing is we're expecting to come in later. So
Do you have
we
an
would
idea
issue
when?
that during bidding as an addenda.
Do you have an idea
Um,
when the testing will be coming in?
so the samples were just taken last Wednesday.
Right.
I think, yes, and it usually takes a couple of weeks for results to come back. So let's see, so we're at 1 week now. They could come in by the end of next week, but it could also be the beginning of the following week.
And who's doing that testing?
So Fuss and O'Neill sends it off to a lab. I don't know what lab, but I've done a lot of sampling and testing with Fuss and O'Neill, and it
So
always
they'll-
takes 3 weeks for the,
So they'll be getting back to us.
yes, yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, okay.
yeah.
So that was one thing that will affect, the bidding period, and will affect the documentation that we issue next week, and will need to be revised and updated once those results come back. As we kind of, button everything up, there was another item that I wanted to bring up, a very minor revision. But in the adults room, we have a shelving niche in this wall that this view is capturing, above which I think it's currently at about 7'8", this upper datum, above which we have this linear light fixture which illuminates the collections there. This is another view of that. And just to give you a sense of how that's going to feel in this space, we looked at it in relation to a sense of a datum that we have in this space at 9 feet. So we have an indirect light fixture here on this wall that illuminates the wall above and the ceiling. We have this ceiling at 9 foot, which ties into our windows as well. And we were considering that it might feel better if we treat this similar to what we have in children's. So then the children's, we have a lower version of this for the children's room, but a similar strategy in the sense that the top shelf, the metal shelves would have a top shelf component to it, and that we extend the height of that niche. Scope wise, it doesn't change anything as far as where we are with the estimate, but it would help express this datum that we have moving throughout the space. We would, the intent here is to paint these niches out with a different tone. So potentially a darker color, somewhere in the grays, maybe it can tie in the color of the shelving and just accentuate the fact that it is a niche and give the library an opportunity for display. Even though it is at a higher elevation and not as accessible, it's something that you could use as display, set it and forget it. It helps strengthen that datum, and it reads a similar move exactly as what we're doing in the children's room. I don't have a view for you, unfortunately. I'm sorry, but it's a larger version of what we're doing in children's. So you get a bit of continuity between the two rooms, and here again, you're accentuating that higher datum and potentially giving you more storage, depending on how you'd like to use this space. Just wanted to give that to you before we lock it in. We've passed this. This has gone past our lighting consultant, and they've confirmed that the fixtures still provide the required foot candles all the way to the ground. You're trying to get light grazing all the way down to the lowest portion of the books. And so our proposal is that we just revise our elevations in this detail to increase the height of this niche. Scope-wise, we already own this as far as cost.
I think it looks nice.
I do too.
Sorry, I
But
had
this-
one more.
These
view.
views maybe have a question about lighting in that little window, Carol.
Yes, it's
And
not
so-
shown here.
Yeah,
We do have a task light here,
okay,
and we also have an outlet here.
okay.
Yep, so there
Yeah,
will
I
be an
know
outlet.
that either Heather or Andrea caught that we needed an outlet.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yep,
all right.
yep. So
good. Yeah,
I was coordinating on that today actually with our electrician, so
okay.
electrical engineer, sorry.
Dominic, your previous version before you showed this one shows the task light.
There you go. Thank you. Quite an eye you have there, Stephen. Nice. So
Thank you, that's great.
yes,
Yeah.
we do have it.
I agree with the other folks about the new version looks nice. And it certainly, did you refer to it as datum?
Yeah, a datum, that's right. So there's a conceptual
Right. Yeah.
line.
See it. I think it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. So if everybody's amenable, we'll include it then. I have a couple of outstanding questions to some. One to you, Dale. You had a specific question about details for the structural foundation wall, the concrete foundation walls. I was talking to our structural engineer today, and I just hot off the presses here, I have an email actually. I can forward you all the code requirements, but we do not need additional thickness in the foundation walls to your question. So I just wanted to bring that up. That was a specific question. So I'll forward you that email. I just see that come in hot off the press. Also outstanding and very late to the game, we finally were able to coordinate with SGH, our exterior envelope consultant, and they have reviewed the roof details with minor revisions, at roof eaves around the building. The specific location and detail that we were concerned about was the transition here of the PVC to metal roof. So we ultimately have their blessing with a slight revision of how all of this is working. And I just wanted to present that to you and to quickly show you that we have the cleat assembly and attachment assembly for the metal seam roof, which is shown here in section related to the metal seam above. We now have this continuous metal cleat here, this continuous cleat that goes down and provides a substrate for the assembly above. So the PVC then laps up above onto that with heat welds. We then have another continuous cleat fastened with hot weld membranes on top of that. So this now allows us to have an adequate substrate to which the PVC can be applied to and sealed to afford us the 30-year warranty, which we had already. but this is kind of a bulletproof detail for that, and allows us in 30 years to replace this PVC without having to touch the metal seam roof at all. So this just came in today. We're still updating this detail. You can see there's a bit of cut and copy here. We just kind of got this together for you today. There's other details around the roof eaves, just minor revisions about how we're using our metal trim and cleats. But we are happy and confident that SGH has given us the all clear for this detail. And I wanted to present that to you because I know there was a long-standing concern about the connection of these two materials to detail the upturned roof. Yes, Stephen.
Yes, so the self-adhering roof membrane, that's like ice and water shield or that type of
Yes.
material. Okay, so I see, so that's running continuous all the way down under the detail and out under the TPO.
Yes.
Great, okay. I think that detail looks pretty good to me.
We're confident that a third party has, looked at this, and SGH we use on all our projects, and we're glad that they've had their input, their leaders in the field, a big organization to weigh in with great engineering. So we will make sure that our specifications reflect, all the Garland requirements for the whole roof system, and we're glad that we again had third-party review of this. So that was the last of it. I did have library of things shelving. That was the last. Marianne, I had shared this with you very quickly. Looking at this elevation again, we've been tweaking this ever so slightly, and I think considering flexibility and your need to display, multiple items and seasonal things here, we're specifying alpha shelving, which is a wall-mounted track system that metal shelves can mount to, giving you ultimate flexibility in where they're located. And what we've revised, so there's no millwork here. This is entirely a gyp finished niche, bar the painted hardwood plywood base, which would accept the cooktop and the telescope. So that kind of freed us up by storing both of those items at the bottom. If I go to the section, they make full use of this 2-foot depth, and all of your other items I coordinated don't necessarily need that 2-foot depth. The paddles are freestanding again as well on that lower portion here. And all of these shelves can be taken out and allows you that flexibility, or placed alternatively, above. What's nice about this system, and again frees us up, is they actually have an incorporated coat hook and rod that fasten to its own attachment. And there's multiple different brackets that we can get. We decided the ones with the bookends we thought might be best for this. This one bracket actually has a coat hook hanger, and you can put that in when you're trying to display the life vests, and then you can take them out at the other season when you don't need to hang them up. Gives you ultimate flexibility. We've included a small little area here that affords you the ability to mount these brackets up high. They need to be inserted at an angle and then clip in. So this small move allows that flexibility to get shelving all the way up to the top. Again, it's organized in 3 zones. and, you know, so each of these zones can be shelved however you like. Same system for holds. I think it's appropriate. It reads as a unit. I think this shelving can work well associated with the metal shelving that you get with FF&E. And everything else is the same. So, you know, we still have a small storage cabinet above holds, and then similarly above browsing. Again, locking in these details, and just wanted to get that to you. I would consider that we would see additional savings here from what we have, where we currently stand. I think originally this was 25,000, and now we're, I forget the number, 18 potentially, and I would expect that we can do better again if we were to price this. This is recently revised. So I just wanted to get your eyes on that, Marianne. And it sounded like from our correspondence that this was favorable. And I think just by virtue of flexibility, it's actually a better system than what we had before. It might not have the same finish quality as a millwork piece, but I think it's appropriate. And considering flexibility, you know, this may be the best solution in our mind. I think it is. So
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
There's going to be a bunch of stuff on those shelves.
Right.
You know, we're not going to be going over and saying, oh, look at the beautiful shelves. We're going to be
Right.
looking at the beautiful stuff on the shelves.
Right.
So,
And it looks like there's a lot more flexibility there.
yeah. And I think, you know, I think if we find efficient, economical solutions that that is going to help us you know, meet the cost of this project as it goes along. So I like it.
Nice. That was everything I had to present to you. I know, Marianne, we are coordinating with Molly on some AV details. I'm looking forward to getting those when you can, so I can get them back to our engineers, just to make sure that we're supplying conduit runs where you need them for the meeting room. Other than that, I'm looking forward to, you know, seeing most of you, or if not all of you, in person at next week's interior finishes meeting, where we can discuss finishes and make selections, or at least placeholders that we're going to own, and then we can define final finish selections again through construction and submittal process, and decide, I guess. So at this point, we're looking to decide on the ad alt list to be used for bidding. We'll make those decisions next week. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yep.
And I assume, Dominic, you'll be asking at that meeting for authorization to go to bidding as well?
Yes.
Okay. Just for clarity, Mary Ann, I won't be at that meeting. I'll be away next week. So Roger will be there from CMS.
Okay. And then Andrea and Heather, do I remember correctly that you want to review everything one final time before we go to bidding?
Typically what we do is we review the 100% CDs and then approve them for going
Okay.
out to bid. So ideally, that is what we would like to do. We can do a quick turnaround of those just to get our eyes on them, and then send them right back to you.
Okay. So
What's the
Dominic,
time frame, Neil, for going to Project Dog the following week?
I left it to them that I told them that they would be out before the end of the month, and we would coordinate with, I honestly, Dominic, I would expect we'll have a quick phone conversation, and they're just gonna say, just give us 24 hours when the documents are ready, and we'll put them up on onto our site. we also need to coordinate the advertising requirements, both local paper, central register, and whatever else. So we should put our heads together. That information will have to go into the invitation for bids that gets posted and advertised. And I mean, looking at the calendar, if the finishes meeting is at Wednesday of next week,
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yeah.
Tuesday. So
Mhm.
assuming Tuesday, the 16th, we would have an authorization to go to bid. We could place the ad in the central register to appear on the 24th. And then plus 3 weeks for filed subbids would be May 15th. And 2 weeks for general contractors would be the 29th. Rough dates.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense to me, Neil. I guess as far as coordination then, and to your point, Andrea, turnaround time during working hours, my sense for delivery is probably late in the day on the 19th is what I'm shooting for. So I just wanted to get a sense of, just coordinating, I guess, and with you, Neil, as well, with when we are shooting to have this ready for
Well,
Project Dog.
if you're getting documents from your people on the 19th, if we place the ad by the 18th, it will appear on the 24th.
I
So
see.
Dominic, you would have from Friday the 19th until probably late Monday, the 22nd, or midday Tuesday, the 23rd, to get the full set of bid documents to Project Dog.
Yep.
And then they would make it public on the 24th.
I see.
If you send it to us on the 19th, we
Yep.
could do it early on the 22nd after our meetings are done. Well, probably by, I would say, early afternoon, we could get it back to you.
Yep. I know you like to see the full set and like to have eyes over MEP plans and
What we
full architectural,
care-
obviously.
Yeah, so what we care about most at this stage, because obviously we're not moving around rooms, we're looking at the electrical, the lighting,
Mhm.
mostly. That's what we're looking at.
Yep, from MEP. Sounds good.
Mhm.
I have a question. The meeting on Tuesday, what would be the anticipated time for that? I'm assuming it could run number of hours.
Potentially. I would say more than an hour for interior finishes. Although, I mean, it'll be a healthy discussion, I think, and that's where it's nice to give ourselves a bit of time. But there's not a lot of different rooms either, right? It's not a huge project, so we're not having to go through tens of rooms, So I would hope between 1.5 hours, maybe with the adult, we're close to 2.
Okay.
That's kind of in my mind what I'm thinking.
Thank you.
Yep.
Marianne?
One tiny little thing. So the area rug in the children's room,
Hmm.
so is that something that the contractors were, so that's just an area rug that goes on top of the floor?
Yes.
Okay, and the way things are written now, is the contractor responsible for choosing and putting in that area rug?
We choose, but yes, that they furnish it. Correct.
Okay.
So they purchase and furnish.
So, and that rug is like $1,100.
I forgot the number. You have it.
I'm sure I'm right. I'm sure
Yeah.
I'm very close.
Yeah.
So is that something that we could take off? And by we choose, Do you mean all of us or you and Matt choose?
All the material finishes we vet through you.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
And so is that something that we could just take off and then use a rug that someone
Sure.
donates or
Yeah.
that we buy at Home
Yeah.
Depot?
Our intent for that area rug is really to accentuate that
Right.
open children's space and
Okay.
kind of as an accent piece to highlight that area.
Right.
And if you feel like it might be best for the project to take that off and you furnish it yourselves, we're totally happy with that.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be nice for the PTO to donate that?
That would be nice for the PTO to donate that.
I bet
So-
you we could get that along with the microwave and the refrigerator.
Okay, it's not, I don't want you to think, we're not gonna pick something ugly, Dominic, but I just think we need to find small ways to, like, it's just.
Yeah, we're totally open to that.
Right, that's
Yeah,
a very expensive,
Sure.
I mean, how big is that rug? Like 8 by 12 at the biggest?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, let's take that off.
Okay, sure.
All right. Okay.
And I
So
think
as it
it's-
relates then to the decision making next week and the cost estimate that we see today, and that there's a bit of give and take on a lot of these items. We've made some decisions today. The vote to go to bid will be made next week, obviously. Is there an expectation to meet the DD cost estimate or basically the construction number?
I think because right now we're at about 25,000 over.
Yeah. Yep.
I think the expectation is to do the best we can and
Yep.
to put forward, our best attempt I mean, we just don't know what the bids are going to be, but we want to be very fiscally responsible going into bidding.
Sure.
Or conservative.
Yeah.
Look at that. Mary Ann wants to be fiscally conservative. Penny, would you put that in the minutes?
I guess I only ask for for instance, we're right around the number for the scope that we added in as far as the fire alarm and
Right.
how quickly we might need to use bidding. It depends on how quickly our electrical engineer can modify drawings to delete that scope if there's intent to meet budget, because we are an overage of basically nearly exactly the same as the scope we added in.
I think we need to first take Neil's suggestion and check with our insurance company on that.
Yep. Okay. So let me know when you can. And I think, Neil, a lot of this can be handled through bidding, and there has to be, a concerted effort on my team about how we handle addendums and things like that, right? Depending on a very late switch, with a few days before we've got to get the contract documents together.
Yeah, I mean, Dominic, I don't want to speak on behalf of the committee, but if based on your meeting next Thursday, you feel
Tuesday,
like you
yep.
need additional time to put the documents together, I don't think the difference between April 24th and May 1st is going to make a huge difference. I'd like to get them on the street as soon as possible. I think it benefits all of us, but putting something out that we know is going to get amended and changed and extended doesn't make sense either.
Right. I guess that's where I was going with it. Just, and we've always had a very compressed schedule, and it's right down to the wire with some of those decision making, but it's not something that, I think there's potential to achieve next week's deadline.
Yeah,
when
that
out scope
meeting,
like that is minimal. A
when
matter
that
of days,
finishes
as you say.
meeting wraps on Tuesday,
Yeah.
we will have 48 hours to place the ad in the central register. So that the consensus by the committee in terms of the dates that are going to be involved needs to be confirmed at the conclusion of that meeting. And if
Mhm.
the documents are going out on the 24th, the ad needs to go to the central register by the end of the day on Thursday, the 18th. And my office can do the ad. We just need the invitation for bids
Yep.
from your office, Dominic.
Yep.
Ahead of
Sounds good.
that.
And Dominic, I just have one more question because it's
Hmm.
been almost 2 hours now. I want to go back to the tile. Right now, the price does not include tile. It includes resilient flooring in the lobby and reception and circulation area. Okay, and a
The
pop.
base
flooring.
bid does. Yep.
The base
And
bid
the
does,
ad
okay.
alt is
Right.
around 27,000, I think.
And so if the estimate were a hard number, that would mean that if we chose to go with tile would be 52,000 over the budget.
Yes.
Okay. Alrighty. I just want to make sure I understand the number.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Alrighty.
So I think the task of the committee is to go through the document that Dominic sent us and think about the adults and think about all of these things so that we are all prepared on Tuesday to make some decisions.
And Dominic, will you send us, were those adults on that?
I
Summary?
I think
don't
it was
they-
on the document I sent
Was it?
yesterday, and
Okay,
I
all right.
missed the export for the presentation. I did end up going to it in the Excel, but
Okay.
I wonder, Elaine, if it might help the committee just for OEA's suggested strategy, or at least an outline of what is at play.
Yeah.
That would be
And then
really,
if
really
you feel
helpful.
like there are additional things, we definitely can include those too, if there's anything I
Okay.
missed.
Okay, that would be really helpful.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, well, thank you, Dominic.
Thank you,
Let's-
everyone.
We have one more item that I would like to bring up that was not on the agenda. And the highway department needed to purchase more gravel than they estimated. And there's a difference of $1,231.49 that they had to spend. And I would like to hear a motion, if I could, to approve this additional amount so that the highway department can pay for this.
What was the amount again, please?
$1,231.49.
I will make that motion.
I'll second it, Stephen.
Is there any further comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Antonellis, aye.
Almus, aye.
Pool eye.
Jake's eye.
Thumbs up from Quackenbush.
Quackenbush, aye. Paleo, aye. Okay. And the last item I would like to ask Marianne is, how is Library Giving Day going?
Library Giving Day is going great. We have, first thing this morning, we had, a number of donations that exceeded the $12,500 matching gift. So by 7:30 this morning, we had $25,000. And then another donor came forward with a $5,000 matching gift that we matched at some point during the middle of the day. And then yet another donor came forward with another $5,000 matching gift. And we're close to meeting that. So once we've met that, then we'll be at about $45,000 raised today, which is really just remarkable. Yet again, the big news is that when the town was voting on whether to or not to accept the small library pilot project grant and to vote to approve an override to borrow $1.1 million to fund the project. The Friends of the Library committed to raising $550,000 by the time we broke ground. And so when we got to $30,000 today, we got to that $550,000. I don't know what a number I said, but the goal was $550,000. And so we've gotten to that goal and then we've exceeded it. And this is a town of 1,700-ish people. And we don't have any banks in town or, foundations. So I think it's remarkable and a real success story. I think this whole thing is a success story.
Congratulations,
Oh,
Marion. That's great.
Congratulations. Does
Yeah.
that mean you're halfway to a fire alarm?
I think that
Tile floors.
yeah, I don't know. I think we probably want the fire alarm. Dale, do we want the fire alarm?
Yes,
Jeff is shaking his head, yes.
yes,
I
we
think
want the
we
fire
want the
alarm. I
fire
agree.
alarm.
It
Yes.
makes sense. It's a
Okay.
wood frame building.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Neil's
Yeah.
argument was valid.
Yes, and even if we don't save, $5,000 a year in insurance, I have no idea how much the insurance even costs. We want to be prepared to protect this building. We're spending millions of dollars to build this building, and a fire alarm compared to the cost of the building. And can I just ask, is the fire alarm an eligible cost? I think
Yes.
it is, yes. And then is the lighting fixture an eligible cost? Okay, so lighting fixtures are eligible cost.
Okay.
Okay.
We want that too.
Is the
We
tile
need that.
eligible cost?
Yep.
What did you say?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
But also remember, our commissioners have voted for 6 million as the cap, so we're trying to keep it within
Right.
those means.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
We
And when
are
we go out
too.
to bid, we want to be able to afford to pay the contract when the bids come in. So,
That's right.
yes. So, okay. Well, this is pretty exciting stuff.
This really is.
I
It's
think
very
we're building
exciting.
a library.
I think we're really building a library this time.
And it seems like this happened really fast, but the town of Shutesbury has been talking about building a library since 1995. So
Yep.
it will be 30 years that it took us to build a library. Did the Massachusetts Public Library construction program start in 1989?
1987.
1987.
First grants
Okay.
started to go out in 1989,
Yeah.
first grant round. Yeah.
Okay, already, so that's where the 1989 came from. So anyway, it's that was a little spark of hope, and sometimes things just take a little longer. So
Slow to burn.
yes. So but
All right.
good. Okay.
Is there anything else that anyone has to offer? Any other subcommittee reports?
Well, I'll just note that the amended order of conditions for the modest changes in the site work has been issued by the Conservation Commission, and we will post that with Registry of Deeds as soon as we can, so hopefully we are done with having to go before the Conservation Commission anymore.
Excellent. And Marianne and I did submit a proposal for a congressional direct spending allocation for $250,000 to both Senator Markey and Senator Warren's office last Friday. And we received confirmation that they have received it and will be reviewing it. And it's a long shot, but you don't get what you don't ask for. So we might be seeing that also, or at least some part of it. All right, anything else, folks? Wow, this was a long meeting. Thank you all for hanging in there. Hope everyone will be there on Tuesday. I will be bringing snacks for folks so that you don't starve if we have a 2-hour meeting again. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second, Stephen.
Roll call vote, please.
Antonellis, aye.
Almus, aye.
Cool, aye.
Jake's eye.
Quackenbush, aye. Paleo, aye. Meeting is adjourned at 9:03 p.m. By the way, the previous meeting was, according to Roger, it was 8:34 p.m.
Can we approve those minutes now that we've adjourned our meeting?
No, we can't.
We,
Yeah, we can do it on next Tuesday's meeting,
and I'm sorry, what was the time one more time?
8:34 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Good
Thanks,
night,
everybody.
everyone.
Okay.
Mary
Thanks,
Ann,
everybody.
I should be able to get you that revised payment letter tomorrow morning.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Thank you.
I
I
reviewed
won't be
it
doing
already,
anything
too.
with it tonight, Neil.
No,
so-
Joanne had left the office.
That's
so I'll
okay.
have her
That's
put
all
it together in the morning.
Thank you. Okay,
Okay.
thanks, everybody.
Bye,
Good
everybody.
night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Aye.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.